Royal Monday Today. Queen Elizabeth views the service as an important part of her devotional life, and it is the only occasion on which the Queen visits others to make awards. Usually recipients of honors come to her. According to Ronald Allison and Sarah Riddle in their The Royal Encyclopedia, the service, quote, has become an occasion of royal pilgrimage to different parts of the country, unquote. The Queen has directed that the service not to be held in London more often than once in 10 years. Westminster Abbey was the site of the 2011 Royal Monday and has been previously hosted it in 2001. The 2011 service was televised live for the first time. Today, the recipients are pensioners, chosen on an interdenominational basis from various Christian churches for their services to their churches and communities. In most years, recipients are nominated by the Christian clergy of various denominations in the diocese where the service is held. In 2011, however, as well as the recipients representing Westminster Abbey, 40 recipients came from the Anglican Diocese of Gibraltar in Europe, which covers continental Europe, and 40 of the Diocese of Sodor and Man, which consists of the Isle of Man. Robert Patterson, Bishop of Sodor and Man, while at a conference of the Anglican bishops, had invited the Queen to his cathedral for Monday services. He received word that this would be too difficult, but that his diocese could nominate recipients. The yeomen of the guard were present at the ceremony and serve as indoor guard. The choir of the Chapel Royal is also present. 6 wandsmen, whose original function is uncertain, guide the recipients to their places and render any other help which is needed. Present at the ceremony are 4 Monday children, formerly children of the Royal Almonry, 2 boys and 2 girls. The original Monday children were 4 old men, charity recipients, whose sole duty was to attend at the Royal Monday service wearing linen scarves. As their fee of the service amounted to over £20 per year, this deemed an abuse of charity, and in 1808 the men were pensioned off and replaced by actual children. The first children appointed from 1808 did not personally attend the service, but their parents received 5 guineas per year to aid in their education until the age of 14, and 4 other children from schools in the city of Westminster represented them at the service. Today, Monday children are chosen from religious and state schools and receive a set of Monday coins for their participation. Officials at the Monday service wear their towels over their clothing, worn over the shoulder and tied at the waist. The linen towels were once retained by their wearers, but since 1883, the same towels, laundered each year, have been used. Until 1979, the Queen made 2 distributions of money in leather purses to each recipient. The first distribution, given to women in green purses and to men in white, was an allowance of leo and clothing formerly given. The white purses used in the clothing allowance may be distinguished from the white purses which contained Monday money, as the former was tied with a short green string, the latter bears a long red string. The clothing allowance purses had been introduced in 1936. Prior to that, the clothing allowance was distributed in a paper packet. In the second distribution, 2 purses were given by the monarch. The red one contained £1.50 for provisions, while once given in kind, and the additional sum of £1 mandated by Elizabeth I. The white purses contained the Monday money. After 1979, the separate distribution of the clothing allowance was discontinued. The gifts have now been consolidated, and the recipients now receive 2 purses in a single distribution, 1 white containing the Monday coins, and 1 red containing the other money. The distributions were consolidated so as to reduce the physical strain of the ceremony on the Queen as she aged. The red purse contains £1 representing the money for redemption of the monarch's gown, £3 in lieu of clothing once given, and £1.50 in place of the food once presented, totaling £5.50. In 2011, the £5.50 were not given in Monday money, took the form of a £5 coin, commemorating the Duke of Edinburgh's 90th birthday, and a 50-pence coin marking the 2012 Olympic Games in London. One man and one woman are chosen for each year the Queen has lived, including the year she is currently living, and that they receive the Monday money, equivalent in pence to that number of years. The purses are carried into the church by the yeomen on the dishes, held above their heads. The origin of this custom is uncertain, but apparently dates from the times when provisions were distributed to the poor. Some experts believe the dishes were carried high to stop the poor from grabbing at the food prematurely, while others believe that the position was to prevent the congregation from being overwhelmed by the smell of the fish. The order of the service for Royal Monday is a simple one. It begins with the reading of John 13:34, which contains the mandatum from which the Royal Monday evolved. It contains 2 lessons, the first of which, John 13, also calls the mandatum. The second reading contains that portion of Matthew 25, which describes the Last Judgment. The Queen makes half the presentations after the first lesson and half after the second. Anthems, led by Chapel Royal Choir and the local choir, are sung while the distribution is going on, concluding with Handel's Zadok the Priest. The Royal Monday service concludes with prayers, quote, "God save the Queen," unquote, and the blessing. 2 hymns are also sung. There is no address. 6 silver dishes are used to hold the gifts. 1, the traditional Monday dish, forms part of the royal regalia and is held at the Tower of London when not in use. All 6 dishes date from the reign of Charles II. 5 of the 6 have been added to the service since 1971. They are held by the yeomen as the Queen walks about, greeting recipients and giving them their gifts. The Lord High Almoner receives only his recompense for this position if he attends the Royal Monday service, a small fee, though payable in Monday money. The Pope still performs the Pendiluvium as he does as the Archbishop of Canterbury. In recent years, the Pendiluvium has become more popular across Christian denominations, and even as a gesture of humility among those serving the poor. Today, the Royal Monday service involves a considerable security operation which drains in the area checked. 2 17-year-old boys were arrested in Wakefield in 2005 for popping balloons in the area of the service, as the sound might be mistaken for gunfire. Mercia Tapsell, a 71-year-old Monday recipient who participated in the 1992 ceremony at Chester for her work with the Salvation Army, spoke of the ceremony before her death in July of that year. Quote, "It surpassed anything that I ever thought. I didn't ever think that I should be in the cathedral with the Queen and all the dignitaries that were there, and the singing, the organ, the Queen, just everything and everybody. It's just been really out of this world. Just to hear Zadok the Priest, I think, has lifted me to cloud 9, because it's something that I love. And to hear that, and to have the Queen pass so close to me, and yes, she smiled at me." Unquote. List of locations of Royal Monday services since 1952. 1952, Westminster Abbey. 1953, St. Paul's Cathedral. 1954, Westminster Abbey. 1955, Southwark Cathedral. 1956, Westminster Abbey. 1957, St. Albans Abbey. 1958, Westminster Abbey. 1959, St. George's Chapel, Windsor. 1960, Westminster Abbey. 1961, Rochester Cathedral. 1962, Westminster Abbey. 1963, Chelmsford Cathedral. 1964, Westminster Abbey. 1965, Canterbury Cathedral. 1966, Westminster Abbey. 1967, Durham Cathedral. 1968, Westminster Abbey. 1969, Selby Abbey. 1970, Westminster Abbey. 1971, Tewkesbury Abbey. 1972, York Minster. 1973, Westminster Abbey. 1974, Salisbury Cathedral. 1975, Petersburg Cathedral. 1976, Hereford Cathedral. 1977, Westminster Abbey. 1978, Carlisle Cathedral. 1979, Winchester Cathedral. 1980, Worcester Cathedral. 1981, Westminster Abbey. 1982, St. David's Cathedral. 1983, Exeter Cathedral. 1984, Southwell Minster. 1985, Ripon Cathedral. 1986, Chichester Cathedral. 1987, Ely Cathedral. 1988, Lichfield Cathedral. 1989, Birmingham Cathedral. 1990, Newcastle Cathedral. 1991, Westminster Abbey. 1992, Chester Cathedral. 1993, Wells Cathedral. 1994, Truro Cathedral. 1995, Coventry Cathedral. 1996, Norwich Cathedral. 1997, Bradford Cathedral. 1998, Portsmouth Cathedral. 1999, Bristol Cathedral. 2000, Lincoln Cathedral. 2001, Westminster Abbey. 2002, Canterbury Cathedral. 2003, Gloucester Cathedral. 2004, Liverpool Cathedral. 2005, Wakefield Cathedral. 2006, Guildford Cathedral. 2007, Manchester Cathedral. 2008, St. Patrick's Cathedral, Armagh, Church of Ireland. 2009, St. Edmundsbury Cathedral. 2010, Derby Cathedral. 2011, Westminster Abbey. Monday coinage. Development and design. Sets 1 penny through 4 pence silver coins are known from the time of Charles II onwards. However, as there is no record of any denomination higher than 1 penny then struck for circulation in silver being used in the money gift before 1731, sets before then are most likely ordinary circulation strikes. At that time, coins used for the Monday money distributions were indistinguishable from those struck for circulation. It was not until 1752 that coins not struck for circulation were used for the Monday distribution. In a time when little silver was being struck by the Royal Mint, the coins distributed might bear a previous year's date. To evade statutory prohibitions on striking silver coins during the Napoleonic Wars, all Monday pieces issued from 1800 to 1815 bear the date 1800, though most were struck later. When the date was finally changed in 1816, after the prohibition ended, the size of the coins was slightly reduced, as the Royal Mint implemented a change from striking 62 shillings of silver from 1 troy pound with a sterling silver of 66 shillings. The last year in which no Monday coins were struck was 1821. In 1689, the Royal Mint began using a design for the reverse of the 4 low-denomination silver coins depicting a crown numeral. The designer is unknown. Richard Lowe, in his Catalogue of British Coins, suggests the artist was George Bower, an employee of the Royal Mint whose medals bear similar characteristics, but his work has endured, in a revised form, for over 300 years. In 1822, an amended reverse was introduced and has been struck every year since then in all 4 denominations. The 1822 reverse design, which was placed in the crown numeral within an oak wreath, was done by Jean-Baptiste Merlin. This design is still struck each year, though the crown was altered in 1888, as this was the appearance of the numeral 2 of the 2 pence. These changes were made by Royal Mint engraver Leonard Charles Wynne. A proposal by the Royal Mint in 1950 to return to the pre-1888 2 as this artistic was refused by George VI, who felt that the current numeral was stylishly similar to the numerals on the other coins, and was the pre-1888 2 was not. Beginning in 1834, 3 pence pieces were struck for circulation, bearing the same design as the Monday 3 pence. The circulation pieces were initially struck for use in the West Indies, but beginning in 1845, they were coined for use in Britain as well. Many of the threepences presented to the impoverished Monday recipients were spent and are rarer than the other values today. Monday three pieces may sometimes be distinguished from currency three pieces, as dies with a more polished feel were used for the Monday pieces. The design for the circulation threepence remained the same as that of the Monday threepence until 1928, when the new design was introduced for circulating the coins. Twopence coins identical to Monday pieces, intended for colonial use, were struck in 1838, 1843, and 1848. The original composition of the coins was sterling silver. In common with all British silver coins, the finiteness of this reduced to 0.500 in 1921. In 1947, silver was removed from all circulating British coinage in favor of the pumpernickel. But as it was felt to be inappropriate to strike Monday coins in base metal, their fineness was restored to 0.925. On Decimal Day, 15 February 1971, the pound sterling became decimalized, with 100 new pence instead of 20 shillings of 12 pence in a pound. No change was made to the design of the Monday pieces, and all Monday pieces, both pre- and post-decimal day, are deemed denominated in new pence, more than doubling the face value of the pre-1971 pieces. The Monday pieces continue to use the original obverse design for Queen Elizabeth II by Mary Gillick, although the busts of the Queen on the other coins have been repeatedly replaced as she ages. At the time of the decimalization, the Royal Mint Advisory Commission recommended that the retention out of affection for the Gillick design. This was accepted by the Queen. Distribution and resale. In the 19th century, as many as 60 times the number of pieces needed for the ceremony were struck, due to public interest in the ceremony and the pieces. Beginning in 1846, Queen Victoria requested pieces for her private use, as much as £10 per year. Many sets were purchased by coin dealers, others by mint officials as gifts. Small quantities of Monday twopences and fourpences, principally the latter, were obtained by colleges at the University of Cambridge for use in making token annual payments. These requests were fulfilled until the middle of the 20th century, after which the Royal Mint refused them. The colleges therefore used obsolete circulation grouts, or dispensed with the custom. According to Robinson, the practice of recipients being asked to sell their gifts is of long standing. Robinson recounts the description of the scenes after a Monday service at the turn of the 19th century. Quote, "As soon as the service is over, crowds of buyers flock eagerly around the old people, who take a price for their coins. The rate they usually charge is 4 or 5 times the face value of the coins. The purses are sometimes disposed of at from 1 to 2 shillings each, depending on the market." Unquote. By 1897, Monday recipients were being urged to sell the small pieces at a premium. There are tales of Americans paying high prices for a set that year, wishing for a souvenir of Victoria's Diamond Jubilee. In 1903, the Royal Mint made its first effort to cut back on the number of pieces distributed, eliminating 200 mint workers from the distributions list. Until 1908, Monday sets could be ordered through banks. Beginning in 1909, however, distributions of the pieces were restricted to Monday recipients and certain officials. Mintage of the sets of Monday money dropped from 9,929 in 1908 to 2,428 the following year. By 1932, Monday recipients were routinely selling the coins to dealers at a premium. There was little official response to this until 1960s, when questions were asked in the House of Lords after the press reported that the recipients were being approached by dealers after the service and being offered cash for their gifts. In response, the Royal Mint decreased the number of sets available to officials, though Royal Mint employees of long service are offered the opportunity, every few years, to purchase a set. A number of sets are used as prizes for the students at Westminster School, a practice said to have begun with Elizabeth I, though this now occurs only in years when the service is held at Westminster Abbey. Sets distributed by the Royal Mint in these ways were not given in purses, but in presentation cases. In recent years, approximately 1,600 to 1,900 sets have been minted. Additional sets have been struck for inclusion in special silver proof sets marketed by the Royal Mint in 1996, 2000, and 2006, with a special issue in gold as part of a gold proof set in 2002. Individual Maundy recipients have realized as much as £100 per set of 4 pieces by selling them on eBay.